Hey, I'm Craig Christoffersen. Welcome to Let the Light in TV. Today we've got the Laowa 10mm f4. They call it a cookie lens. You can call it a pancake lens. Either way, it's extremely small and extremely light. 28 millimeters in length, 136 grams in weight. You can fit this thing in your pocket and forget that it is there. But how does it perform? Well, before we get into that, let's talk about the details, the specifications, the features of the lens. So first of all, it's silver in design. It's got kind of this little blue ring on it for aesthetic touching. And I don't have a problem with it. Silver may not be your favorite lens color, but to me, I think it looks good on the camera body. A little bit of a retro flare perhaps, but I like it. The aperture ring is a clickable ring and it moves directly from full stop to full stop. So there's no kind of in between there that you can get to if that's something that you're really finitely trying to control. The focus ring, because of the amount of real estate on this lens, which is not much, the focus ring is all the way on the edge of the lens, which means that when performing video, if you are focus racking, your finger is definitely probably going to be appearing in the corner. This is something where whenever I was doing some of the focus racks that you'll see later on, I was already aware of. So I did my practice ones and got all those finger shots out, and then kind of figured out how to do it so that my fingers were not appearing in the frame. So that's something you're just going to have to work on within your personal focus rack because the focus ring is right on the edge of the lens, so there's not much room there. The focus ring does have hard stops and a smooth rotation, so you will always stay within the focus window. You're not going to rotate out of it. So that all works very nicely. Although, because this lens is so small, whenever you go to take the lens off of the camera, it's a little bit difficult. There's nowhere solid to grab to rotate the ring, to rotate the lens out. So basically what happens is you have to basically rotate the aperture and focus ring the full length to whatever direction you're trying to go, whether on or off. So you basically rotate all the controls on the lens and then you'll be able to snap it off. A little bit tricky, not the end of the world, but hey, that's what you got to deal with whenever that lens is so small. The build quality is good. It's all metal and glass. There's no plastics in it at all. As well, though, there's also no electronics and there's no weather sealing in it. But it does have a nice build quality. So those are the features of this lens. Now let's take a look at what it produces visually.
Let's start off with some solar flares. You can see we've got a full sun ring around it, but overall, the Laowa 10mm f4 holds it quite nicely. This is at f-stop of 4, and here we are at f22, and now we've got a proper sun star and a double rainbow. A double rainbow all the way across the sky. Double sundog, more like it, but anyway. Moving on. You can see that shooting towards the sun can create some interesting results. And so you've got to turn away if you want to avoid that sometimes. You've got to think about how the sun is entering your scene and how it's going to affect that. Sometimes just a slight change of the angle will fix that problem. I'm checking out some bokeh balls on a focus rack here, but just working with the angle that you're dealing with the sun can get rid of those unwanted flares if that's entering into your scene. This has a stabilizer on it, and as you can see, it is quite smooth, although at times, because this is such a small and compact lens, if you're going to make movements with it, because it's essentially so much a part of the camera body, any camera body movement you can't adjust for. So as you can see me walking here, if you want to smooth that out, you're going to have to use a gimbal because it's not really something where with a longer lens you can kind of adjust your grip and counteract that. Focusing close up on things was a bit of a challenge. There is focus breathing, as you can see in this shot here. You can kind of feel that background shifting in and out, but focusing close up was a little bit tough. I don't know if it was just the way that the lens interacted with my specific camera body, which is A6600, but the peaking wasn't necessarily showing me where I was focused super close up. Now, you can get around this by using the magnification button. And here you're seeing footage of 4K versus 1080. Just you can see the difference. 4K crops in a whole lot more. But you can circumnavigate that by using the magnification button to check your focus. That's not necessarily something I do a whole lot, admittedly. I usually just rely on peaking. But that's something you can get around. I do really like the clarity and the colors. I think this results in a sharp image if you can get the focus. That was, I think, probably my biggest run-in with this lens is trying to get the focus. But if you've got it, the colors are good. I think the clarity is good. It looks sharp. Things aren't necessarily blurred out. I think it looks good. We've got the boat coming in here. Nice little afternoon sunset scene. Foliage looks really nice as well.
There you have it. That is what the footage looks like that you can potentially get out of this lens. I had a nice sunset to work with there that afternoon. So overall, I think pros of this lens are it's small, it's built well, it's got low distortion, your lines stay straight and are straight, and additionally, it's affordable. This comes in at $299 US, and so it comes in whenever you compare it kind of with other 10mm lenses for the Sony E platform. It comes in at the bottom of the market. So it's affordable, built well, low distortion, and small, easy to travel with for sure. The cons of it is that it can be tricky to manage sometimes in taking it on and off and in dealing with the focus ring in regards to video, because you can kind of get in the way of your footage sometimes. So it can be a little bit tricky to manage. I found that videoing smaller objects really close up can be a little difficult as well, because I found that the peaking on the screen display didn't necessarily provide me enough info. It didn't really show up at kind of that super close up range. The peaking that I rely on for manual focus lens in video, it wasn't really working to the best of its ability, essentially. So it's kind of hard to tell where your focus is sometimes. Now, of course, you can get around this by just using the magnification function on the viewfinder, and so that's one way to circumnavigate that. But for me, I wish that the peaking worked a little bit better for that minimum focus distance. So at the end of the day here, I think what we have is an affordable lens that performs in a likewise fashion. It's not blowing me away, but it's also not useless. It does have its use, and it does have its space in the market. You know, it's got its pros. It's made well. It's extremely small. It is very affordable, but it also has its caveats and its little, you know, pernickety things where using the focus ring can be a little bit tough when focus racking in video. Peaking doesn't necessarily display as well as I want it to, although that could be different on a different camera body that you're using. So at the end of the day, I think looking at it, it depends on what your budget is, because you can easily spend another $300 more. You can spend $600 to get a different 10mm lens for the Sony E platform. So I think at the end of the day, looking at this lens, it depends on if you're okay with kind of the vignetting that comes along with the lens, and if you're okay with losing some maybe more premium features like autofocus and living with those little flaws that this lens has because of its compactness. So there it is. That's the review of the Laowa 10mm f4 cookie lens. If you want to buy it, the link is down below. If you want to go check out how this lens performs in regards to photo, here's a link to Dustin Abbott's channel and his review that he did on the Laowa 10mm. Other than that, I hope you have a wonderful day. Subscribe, like the video if you enjoyed it, comment on whatever's on your mind, and remember to let the light in.